Have you ever looked around at how much progress is happening and wondered just where it's all headed? What's the most positive, awesome future we could be building?
Yeah.
Well, get ready, because that's exactly what we're diving into today. This deep dive is all about some seriously fascinating ideas from Shrii P.R. Sarkar.
Oh, cool.
We're talking about his concepts of minimum requirements and maximum amenities, which offer this incredible vision for how society can just keep getting better and better. It's super optimistic, and I'm so excited to unpack it all. You with me?
Absolutely. I'm totally on board for this. I've been looking over the material you sent, and it's really got me thinking about what's truly possible.
Perfect. So let's jump right in, shall we?
Yeah.
One of the things that really struck me is Sarkar's take on communism.
Hmm.
He doesn't hold back, calling it a bogusism.
Right. Strong words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his critique seems to hinge on this idea of achieving equal wealth for everyone. What's the core problem there, in his view?
Well, a big part of it is Sarkar's very practical look at the world's resources, the stuff we need to live. He's basically saying there's not an unlimited amount of it. So dividing it all up equally, while it might sound good, just isn't realistic in the long run.
Right. Kind of like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Can try to force it, but it's not going to work very well.
Exactly. And he sees communism as kind of playing on this human desire for nice things. He even calls it a dazzling ostentation. But the problem is the promise of equal wealth ultimately sets people up for disappointment.
I see, because the resources just aren't there to deliver on that promise for everyone. So if striving for equal wealth isn't the answer, what's the alternative? That's where these ideas of minimum requirements and maximum amenities come in, right?
Yes, that's where things get really exciting. Instead of this, potentially impossible goal of everyone having the same amount of wealth, Sarkar shifts the focus to making sure everyone has a solid baseline standard of living.
Okay, so guaranteeing the essentials for a good life. That makes a lot of sense. But you mentioned earlier, this is a progressive vision.
Oh, absolutely. And this is crucial. The idea isn't that these minimum requirements stay the same forever. No way. As society becomes more prosperous, as we invent new things and discover new ways of doing things, the definition of what those minimum requirements are should also grow and evolve.
So it's not about just meeting basic needs. It's about this constantly improving foundation for everyone to build on.
Precisely. And then we have this other really cool aspect, maximum amenities.
Yeah, that sounds intriguing. Who gets those, and what's the thinking behind that concept?
Okay, so there are two really exciting parts to this maximum amenities idea. First off, Sarkar talks about giving them to meritorious persons. These are people who make significant positive contributions to society.
Okay, so the folks who are going above and beyond to make the world a better place.
Exactly. Think brilliant scientists making groundbreaking discoveries, artists inspiring us with their creativity, community leaders doing amazing work. And the idea here is that by giving them these maximum amenities, you incentivize people to serve society and to innovate.
Right, because when you see those who are really making a difference being rewarded and supported, it encourages others to strive for excellence, too. It's like a positive feedback loop for progress.
You got it. Now, the second cool part of this is that Sarkar doesn't want these maximum amenities to be limited to just a select few. He also talks about extending them to, the common people as well.
Okay, so even though those making exceptional contributions might get more, everyone should still benefit from these advancements. That sounds like a very inclusive approach.
It absolutely is, and this is a key point to emphasize the ever-increasing nature of this vision. The idea isn't to create a static society where everyone has exactly the same level of amenities, but to keep working towards closing that gap, raising the bar of what's possible and enjoyable for everyone. Because if only a small group of people are benefiting from progress, then society as a whole is likely to, stagnate. But if everyone's quality of life is constantly improving, well, that fuels more progress and creates a more dynamic and vibrant society.
That's so cool. It's like a rising tide lifts all boats. But in this case, the tide is constantly rising thanks to this focus on continuously improving amenities for everyone.
Precisely. And the example you mentioned earlier about transportation, like going from a simple bicycle to a motorbike and then maybe even a car, that really illustrates this beautifully. What was once considered a luxury can over time become a more common amenity as society advances and new technologies emerge.
I love that example. It really drives home the point that progress isn't about reaching a fixed endpoint, but this ongoing journey of improvement.
Exactly. So with that in mind, I think it's worth digging a little deeper into what we actually mean by these amenities, because the material makes it clear that it goes way beyond just like physical stuff.
Yeah, totally. It's got to be about more than just having the latest gadgets or, a fancy car. So what else does it encompass?
Well, the real insight here is recognizing that human well-being has both physical and mental or, psychic dimensions. So amenities in this context are anything and everything that makes life easier, more enjoyable, and more fulfilling in both those realms.
Ah, so it's about addressing all aspects of what makes a good life.
Right. And the material gives some really great examples to illustrate this. Like, think about the difference between having to draw water from a well, which can be a real chore, and having piped water right in your home.
Oh yeah, talk about a huge upgrade in convenience.
Right. Or like providing free snacks to school children or tea for people traveling in second-class train compartments. These might seem like small things, but they add a layer of comfort and enjoyment to daily life that goes beyond just meeting basic needs.
It's about those little touches that make you feel cared for and elevate your overall experience. And it makes me think that providing more amenities to everyone isn't just about making people happier, but it actually can stimulate the economy too.
Absolutely. Think about it. When people have a higher quality of life, they naturally want more. They aspire to even better things.
Right. Like if you're used to riding a bike, you might start dreaming of getting a motorbike.
Exactly. And that, in turn, drives demand for new goods and services, which fuels production, innovation, and ultimately leads to more progress.
It's a really beautiful cycle.
It is. And I think the material adds another layer of depth to this by bringing in these Sanskrit terms, suvida and kuvida. Suvida refers to the things we consciously desire, the pabulum asked for, as the text puts it. But then there's kuvida, which represents those things we might not even realize we want, the pabulum not asked for.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting. So it's not just about fulfilling our known desires, but also about recognizing that there are things that could contribute to our well-being that we haven't even thought of yet.
Yes, exactly. And that's where innovation and creativity come in, always pushing the boundaries of what's possible and exploring new ways to improve our lives.
It's like expanding our understanding of what a truly fulfilling life can be. Now, while we're on this topic of different types of amenities, there's also this intriguing distinction made between natural and supernatural amenities.
Ah, yes, a great point. So natural amenities are those things that are directly tied to, like, our basic physiological needs and desires, things like having enough food and water, comfortable shelter, and so on.
Okay, the things we need to survive and thrive on a fundamental level.
Right. But then we have these supernatural amenities, which are things that have been developed through, human ingenuity and technology to specifically reduce stress, increase efficiency, and just generally improve our quality of life.
Oh, I see. So these are like inventions and innovations that go beyond simply meeting our basic needs and actually enhance our experience of life in significant ways.
Precisely. Think about things like advances in agriculture that allow us to produce more food with less effort, or the construction of dams to ensure a reliable water supply. These are examples of human creative solutions that address natural needs in increasingly sophisticated ways.
That's such a cool way to think about it. It shows how progress isn't just about meeting our needs, but about continually finding better and more efficient ways to do so.
Exactly. And the key point here is that the provision of both these natural and supernatural amenities needs to be in harmony with a society's current capabilities. You can't expect to have, super advanced amenities if the resources, technology, or even the social mindset aren't there yet. It's about finding that sweet spot between what's possible and what's beneficial at any given time.
Right. Sustainable progress needs to be grounded in reality. Now, this brings us to another really key idea from the material, which is this understanding that both minimum requirements and maximum amenities are not fixed targets, but things that should continuously evolve and expand over time.
Absolutely. This is a core principle of this progressive vision. It's not about reaching some static utopia, but about this ongoing journey of improvement.
And the material uses a really simple but effective example to illustrate this, how our idea of plain living, or even something as basic as what we consider a good breakfast, has changed drastically over the generations.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. What might have been considered a perfectly acceptable, even luxurious lifestyle 100 years ago might seem pretty inadequate by today's standards.
Right, and those changing expectations are a reflection of both, like societal progress and our evolving understanding of what constitutes a good life.
Precisely. And Sarkar emphasizes that this continuous evolution is a vital part of progress. He talks about how the jurisdiction of maximum amenities will constantly expand as our understanding of human needs and desires evolves.
It's like the more we know, the more we realize is possible, and the more we strive for even greater levels of well-being.
Exactly. It's a never-ending process of growth and improvement.
But doesn't this constant raising of the bar, this focus on ever-increasing amenities, lead to this endless cycle of wanting more? Like, will we ever be satisfied?
That's a really thoughtful question. And to be honest, the material does acknowledge that there's this inherent human tendency to always strive for something more.
Right. It's like the more we have, the more we realize we could have.
Yeah, it's kind of built into our nature. But here's where it gets really interesting. While the material acknowledges that our physical and mental desires might never be fully satisfied in the material realm, it also points towards this deeper, more profound level of fulfillment that's found in the spiritual realm.
So it's not about denying our desires,
Yeah.
but understanding that there's this whole other dimension of human experience where true and lasting contentment can be found.
Exactly. It's a really beautiful and hopeful perspective. It acknowledges the power of our material aspirations to drive progress, while also recognizing that ultimately true fulfillment lies in something that transcends the material world.
I love that. So it's like acknowledging the limitations of the material realm while also recognizing that our pursuit of greater well-being can ultimately lead us towards something even more profound.
Precisely. Now, speaking of pushing boundaries, the material also delves into some really fascinating ideas about the future of human development.
Oh, yeah. And this is where things get super futuristic and exciting. Like, we're talking about a potential shift from a primarily physical existence to one that's more focused on intellect and even spirituality.
Right. But before we get too deep into that, I think it's important to note that the material also acknowledges there could be some potential demerits as life becomes increasingly easier and more comfortable.
Oh, interesting. So what are some of the potential downsides to all this progress?
Well, the example given is how our ancestors used to walk barefoot everywhere, whereas now we rely on all sorts of vehicles and transportation systems.
Right. We don't have to physically exert ourselves as much as we used to.
Exactly. And that's led to, a decrease in certain physical capacities, like our feet and legs aren't as strong or resilient as they once were.
Okay, so there's a potential trade-off there. As we become more reliant on technology and amenities, certain physical abilities might naturally decline.
Right. But here's the really cool part. While physical strength might decrease, the text suggests that our intellectual capacity will increase significantly. It's presented as a kind of evolutionary shift, where the focus moves from physical prowess to mental agility.
Oh, wow. So it's like as our physical needs become more easily met, our brains have more energy and capacity to develop even further.
Exactly. And the material even suggests that over time, this could lead to larger brains, more complex neural networks, and just a general increase in intellectual ability.
Wow. So we could become a species of super thinkers. That's a pretty amazing vision of the future.
It really is, and it doesn't stop there. The material goes on to suggest that this kind of intellectual development could even extend to other species over really long periods of time.
Oh, wow. Like we're not the only ones who could experience this kind of evolutionary leap.
Precisely. There's this fascinating comparison made between different types of elephants. Like African elephants are generally considered less intelligent and more difficult to domesticate than Indian elephants.
Interesting. I never knew that.
Yeah. And the material suggests that this difference might be related to the fact that Indian elephants have larger brains than their African counterparts. And from this, it extrapolates to the idea that as living conditions become easier and more conducive to mental development, we could see other species also evolving to higher levels of intelligence.
Wow. So like imagine a future where monkeys are having philosophical debates or dolphins are composing symphonies.
Right. It's mind-blowing to consider the possibilities. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. If physical survival becomes less of a struggle, then more energy and resources can be devoted to intellectual pursuits.
Yeah, it's like taking the pressure off basic survival needs, frees up the mind to explore and create on whole new levels.
Exactly. And this brings us to another really fascinating aspect of this futuristic vision. The idea that we could eventually move beyond a focus on the physical and intellectual realms to a state of being that's primarily spiritual.
Okay, so we go from brawn to brains to like becoming more in tune with something beyond the material world.
Precisely. The material suggests that as we continue to progress, the need for strenuous physical labor will gradually diminish. Machines and automation will take over many of the tasks that used to require human effort.
Right, so we'll have more time and energy to devote to things beyond just meeting our basic needs.
Exactly. And this will free us up to pursue intellectual and creative endeavors, which will in turn lead to even greater advancements. But it goes even deeper than that. The material also suggests that engaging in spiritual practices could actually play a role in accelerating this process.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just about having more time for meditation or prayer, but that those activities could actually have a tangible impact on our brains and our capacity for spiritual understanding.
That's the idea. And it suggested that this could lead to a state where we're more attuned to psychic and spiritual realities than to the everyday material world.
Wow. So like future humans might be more psychic than physical.
It's a really mind-bending concept, isn't it? And it really ties back to that idea that true and lasting fulfillment comes not from the material world, but from connecting to something greater than ourselves.
It's an amazing and hopeful vision of the future. So how do these ideas about minimum requirements, maximal amenities, and this incredible evolution of human consciousness fit together with the philosophy of neo-humanism?
It's all beautifully interconnected. You see, Prout, with its focus on guaranteeing everyone's basic needs and constantly improving the quality of life, creates the foundation for this kind of progress. When people aren't struggling to survive, they have more freedom and energy to pursue higher goals.
Right. It's like taking care of the foundation so we can build something truly amazing on top of it.
Exactly. And that's where neo-humanism comes in. With its emphasis on universal love, social equality, and breaking down the barriers that divide us, it creates a more just, compassionate, and supportive environment for everyone to thrive.
So it's like Prout provides the material foundation for well-being, and neo-humanism creates the social and ethical framework for us to truly flourish as individuals and as a society.
Precisely. And together, they create this incredible synergy that accelerates human progress on all levels, physical, intellectual, and spiritual.
Like they're two sides of the same coin, working together to unlock our full potential as human beings.
Exactly. And I think even small things like ensuring people have access to efficient and affordable transportation can have a huge impact on this process. When you're not spending hours each day stuck in traffic, you have more time and energy to devote to more fulfilling pursuits.
Oh, that's a great example. It's like those little things can really add up and have a ripple effect on our lives.
Absolutely. And the material also emphasizes that this progress should be inclusive and benefit all of humanity. It talks about how ultimately the goal is to achieve this radiant and fulfilling existence centered around spiritual understanding and attainment.
It's a vision of a future where everyone has the opportunity to experience true well-being and reach their full potential. And speaking of inclusivity, the discussion also expands to include animals in this vision of progress.
Yes. It's amazing how it all connects. Recognizing the limitations of physical resources and the ever-seeking nature of the human mind, the material contrasts this with the infinite nature of the spiritual realm. So while our physical hunger might never be fully satisfied, the pursuit can lead us to the threshold of spirituality.
Right. It's like recognizing that even though we might never achieve perfect material satisfaction, that pursuit itself can have a profound impact on our consciousness.
Exactly. And this compassionate perspective extends to how we treat other sentient beings. It envisions a future where the concept of minimum requirements is broadened to include the needs of animals as well.
That's such a beautiful and ethically powerful idea. It's like recognizing that our responsibility for well-being goes beyond just our own species.
Absolutely. It's about extending our circle of care to encompass all sentient life. And the material emphasizes that this progress should have no full stop. It envisions a continuous upward trajectory for the entire social order, ultimately encompassing a broader sentient sentiment, as it's called.
So it's not about reaching a fixed endpoint, but this ongoing journey of expansion and inclusivity where we're constantly striving to improve the lives of all beings.
Exactly. And the concept of maximum amenities isn't seen as some final destination, but as a relative zenith, always subject to further progress as our understanding and capabilities evolve.
It's like there's always room for improvement, and that our pursuit of a better world should never end. Now, the material also makes a distinction between Prout's approach and what it calls the more idealistic approach of Marxism.
Yes, and it's really interesting. Sarkar critiques Marxism for what he sees as constructing these unrealistic castles in the air, ideas that perhaps didn't fully consider the immediate realities of human needs and resource limitations.
Right. So it's like there was this gap between the ideals of Marxism and the practical realities of implementing those ideals.
Exactly. And this is where Prout's emphasis on practicality and feasibility shines. It's about understanding both human aspirations and the tangible constraints of the material world and finding ways to bridge that gap.
So it's about being grounded in reality while still striving for a better future.
Precisely. And part of that grounded approach is recognizing that individuals within a society have diverse talents and capabilities. And Prout suggests that it's wise to provide special amenities to those who are particularly capable.
Oh, yeah, I remember this for the materials about preventing what's often called brain drain, right?
Exactly. When you provide those with exceptional abilities, with the resources and support they need, they're more likely to contribute their talents within their own society, rather than seeking opportunities elsewhere.
Right. It's like investing in your own people so that everyone benefits from their brilliance.
Precisely. And this is presented as a key strategy for ensuring a continuous acceleration of socio-economic progress.
So to sum up this incredibly optimistic and forward-thinking approach, we have these 4 key principles. Guaranteeing minimum requirements for everyone, providing special amenities for the capable, striving for maximum amenities for all, and recognizing that all 3 of these are not static targets, but things that should constantly increase as society progresses.
You've got it. And that last part is really crucial. This vision isn't about reaching a fixed endpoint, but about creating a dynamic and ever-evolving system that's constantly striving for greater levels of well-being for everyone.
It's a truly inspiring and hopeful vision of the future. It's about so much more than just material progress. It's about a fundamental shift in our consciousness, a move towards a more equitable, compassionate, and spiritually fulfilling way of life.
I couldn't agree more. And what's so exciting is that it's not some pie-in-the-sky utopia. It's presented as a practical and achievable roadmap for creating a truly better world.
And that's what makes it so powerful. So, to our listeners, I want to leave you with this question. Considering this vision of ever-increasing amenities, a strong focus on intellectual growth, and even a journey towards spiritual understanding, what kind of future society do you envision as possible? It's a question that leaves me feeling incredibly optimistic and excited about the possibilities. Thank you so much for joining us on this fascinating deep dive.